Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to week 5, lecture 2. We were studying about different metallic structures for crystalline materials, and in those structures we learned about three main crystalline metallic structures, that is face centered cubic, body centered cubic, and hexagonal closed pack. Now in this lecture we will be studying different definitions and connotations and terms that are associated with crystalline structures for their description and knowing their typical characteristics. We move on to the next slide and we will see, as we have seen in our previous lecture, there are number of atoms attached are involved in each of the unit cell of each crystalline structure, and there are different number of atoms present or attached with each unit cell. How many actually the total atoms are associated with each unit cell of a particular crystalline structure? This depends upon an atom's location, whether it is shared or it is singly or wholly attached with one particular unit cell. How many total complete atoms are then in a unit cell? We can calculate this total number of atoms associated with each unit cell or per unit cell, that we can call n, using the formula given in 3.2 on this slide. That is, total number of atoms is equal to Ni plus Nf over 2 plus Nc over 8. Ni is the number of interior atoms, Nf is the number of face atoms, and Nc is the number of corner atoms. For FCC crystal structure, total number of atoms are 4. Do you agree with me that for FCC crystal structure, total number of atoms are 4? If you look at the figure 3.1a given on this slide, on the very right down corner, you can see that there are 8 corner atoms. You see, on each 8 corners there is an atom present, but these 8 corner atoms are not completely attached with this unit cell. It is just 1/8 of each of 8 atoms that is attached in this, or that is present in this unit cell of this face centered cubic crystalline structure. I repeat, there are 8 corners. Each corner has an atom attached, but this atom is not attached in this unit cell as a whole, but actually if you see, it is only the 8th part of each atom that is present or attached with this unit cell, and you have total 8 corner atoms. So in a whole or on a complete level, there is just one atom that is made up by all these corner atoms. Okay, so one whole or complete atom comes from the 8 corner atoms that are present in this unit cell. Next we see the face atoms present in the face, and you see that this face atom is cut into half. So actually half of face atom is present in one this unit cell, and the next half is of course in the next unit cell that is attached to this unit cell to give it a long range order, and that's along all the 3 sides, 3-dimensional structure, as we have told you. This is just one unit cell. So we have total 6 faces, 3 you can see, and 3 from the back, from the left, and from the bottom or the down. So total 6 faces and each face contains half of one atom for the total of 3 atoms present on the faces. 6 faces, each face contains half of an atom, so it makes total of 3 atoms. 1 total at the corners, 3 for the total of face. It becomes total 4 atoms that are, if we complete an atom, so these are just 4 atoms present or attached within FCC crystalline structure. There is no internal atom present in FCC crystal structures. So total number of 4 atoms are present for a FCC crystalline structure. I guess you can now calculate total number of atoms present for BCC and HCP by yourself. If we have any difficulty or there is confusion, of course we will discuss this when we meet in the live session. We move on to next, that is a term that is called coordination number. What is coordination number? Another important characteristics of crystalline structure is coordination number, and this coordination number is number of near or neighbor atoms or atoms touching an atom from all sides. The number of atoms that touch an atom from all sides on the 3 dimensions. This is called the coordination number for that particular unit cell or crystal structure and atom. Coordination numbers for FCC, HCP is 12, and for BCC the coordination number is 8. One thing we have to remember that these touching atoms are actually directly in contact for that particular atom for which you are calculating this coordination number. So they must be in direct contact with that particular atom. You can take any atom and calculate coordination number for that. Okay, let us see for FCC crystal structure. Its coordination number comes out to be 12. Do you agree with this or can recognize this fact that coordination number for FCC crystalline structure, the atom for the face and the face of it is 12. Okay, let us see in figure 3.1, figure 3.1a on the leftmost down corner of your slide. If you take the face, the atom that is present, the half of the atom that is present in the center, you see that this front face atom has 4 corner atoms in direct contact. This face center atom has 4 corner atoms that are directly in contact with this. Then 4 face atoms in contact directly from behind. See, this atom is just a hard sphere model that is shown in bigger size. Otherwise, you can appreciate that this central atom, 4 direct contact atoms from front face and 4 from the face that is behind it. And then we have another unit cell that is just connected in front of it, and 4 atoms come in contact from that particular atom. So for all these make a total of 12 atoms that are directly in contact for this front face center atom of the FCC crystal structure, and that gives it a total of 12 atoms, and so its coordination number is 12. Could you convince yourself for the coordination number of FCC? We repeat. You see the front face atom, 4 atoms directly in contact that you can see easily, and 4 atoms from the next unit cell that come into contact with this, total of 8, and then there are 4 atoms that are in direct contact from the back of this center atom from the back side. So this front side contact, then the side from the next unit cell directly in contact, and then the 4 atoms from the behind or the back side of the unit cell. 4 plus 4 plus 4, it gives you a total of 12 atoms that are in direct contact with the central face atom of this face centered cubic crystal structure, giving it a coordination number of 12. For HCP, that is on the in figure 3.4a on the rightmost bottom corner, again the coordination number is 12. Please take any single atom and try to contact how many atoms are in direct contact with this. And for BCC, this is just 8 atoms that are directly in contact with. If you take the central atom, you can see it is inside and it is surrounded by atoms on the corners, 4 in the upper corner, upper side, and 4 from the bottom side. Total of 8 atoms are in contact with the central atom in BCC. Please do this exercise for yourself, and then if you have any confusion, of course we will be discussing about this in our live sessions. So this is the coordination number, how many atoms are in direct contact with any one single atom taken in the crystal structure, refers to the coordination number of that particular atom for that particular structure. Then next comes atomic packing factor. As the name suggests, how atoms are packed together. This is referring to atomic packing factor, and this refers to the sum of sphere volumes of all atoms within a unit cell divided by the unit cell volume. You have a unit cell with a certain edge length, and then you have atoms inside. If you see just on the previous diagram, in all these figures, you can see these atoms are touching each other, but then there is a space because of their circular shapes. When they come in contact, there is a space left that is not occupied by any of the atoms, and this actually helps us to calculate that what is the total volume of this unit cell, as is this cube. Just we take into account the cube edge length, and then how many atoms are present inside, and what is their total volume, and what is the space left vacant or free, and that is not occupied by these atoms, and the ratio of that will give you atomic packing factor, that is volume of atoms in a unit cell, and then the total unit cell volume. This gives you atomic packing factor. Atomic packing factor, as I said earlier, informs us how much of a unit cell is empty space. More the number of atoms in the unit cell, higher is the atomic packing factor. Of course, if we have more and more number of atoms present in the unit cell, more of the space is occupied by these atoms, and less of the space is empty or vacant. And atomic packing factor actually tells us how much space in the unit cell is covered by the atoms. Can you calculate this atomic packing factor for each of FCC, BCC, and HCP unit cells? We have talked earlier that this is cube, each have cube edge length A, and atoms have radius R. We have calculated number of atoms present, the total number of atoms present in each unit cell. From here, as for example, for FCC it is 4. Total number of atoms, one atom, atomic radius is R, and you can see total volume. Calculate for one atom and then multiply it by 4. This gives you total volume for total 4 number of atoms, and this is occupied. And then you can calculate the volume from the cube edge length, and then you can get a ratio of it for the atomic packing factor for FCC. Similarly, you can do this for BCC and HCP unit cells. As you know, in metals, atoms are nearby. They are very close to each other. That's why they are solids. So they have a very high atomic packing factor that we can calculate for metals, because their atoms are close or nearby each other. Okay. Next is the density computation. If we know the type of crystal structure for a metallic solid, we can calculate its density theoretically. This is not exactly or experimentally the correct one, but most of the time, theoretically, it is near to the experimental value. And if we know crystal structure for a typical metallic solid, we can calculate its density by using the formula that is given in 3.8. In this formula, you can see n is number of atoms associated with each unit cell that we calculated when we were talking about the crystalline structures earlier as shown on, I guess, in figure in slide 2. How many total number of atoms are for a particular crystalline structure? If you calculate this, and then A is atomic weight that is given for each of the elements, and this we see is the number volume of the unit cell, and that volume of course we can calculate from the dimensions of the unit cell. If we know the length, and this is cube, in this case all these three cube as length, so you can directly calculate total volume of the cube and you can replace it here. And Na is the Avogadro's number. OS is 1, and this is of course a constant. So you just need to know the number of atoms associated with a given unit cell, what is the atomic weight of that element for which the unit cell is, and then the volume of the unit cell, and you can then calculate density of that particular metallic solid. Going on to next, polymorphism. What is polymorphism? If there is an element that exists in more than one crystalline structure, this characteristic is called polymorphism. That is, the element is the same, but it has different crystal structures. Is it possible for an element to have different crystal structures? Yes, it is possible. Different crystal structures for the same element are possible at different temperatures, external pressures, and of course, when you make them into a compound. When this phenomenon is found in elemental solids, it is referred to as allotropy. So, allotropy refers to the existence of an element in different crystalline structures. Can you think of different elements or an element which have different crystalline structure, have different conditions? For example, carbon is a very famous element. It has different crystalline structures, and it's simple carbon, natural, and then it has graphite, and then it has diamond. Okay, these are the different crystalline structures of the same material, and you can see that this different crystalline structure gives them very different properties. For example, graphite and diamond. You can see it is the same element, but just arrangement of atoms, a difference in arrangement of atoms, give one very soft and the other one very hard characteristics. Diamond is very hard material, although it is the same carbon, but its crystalline arrangement differs, so it makes it very hard. So here you can appreciate the fact that crystalline structure gives the materials their different characteristics that they have. Another example, very famous, is the element iron, which have BCC crystal structure and then FCC crystal structures at different temperatures. Can you find these temperatures and when and which ambient external condition iron has BCC crystal structure and then FCC crystal structures? Please just go to your reading material or Google and find for yourself for your appreciation and learning that when carbon and iron, especially the iron, have different crystalline structures as the temperature is changed for iron. Okay, moving on to the next and the last slide, we learn about single crystal. When this periodic and repeated arrangement of atoms is perfect, or it extends throughout the entirety of the specimen without interruption. I mean, there is no boundaries or breakups. This crystal is called single crystal. In single crystal, all the unit cells are interlocked in the same way and in the same orientation. Polycrystal, of course, you know poly means many. When the crystals are composed of a collection of many small crystals or grains, so to speak, they are called polycrystalline materials. If we look at the small figure given on the right side of this figure, you can see that there is different grains or crystals present in this cartoon or in this figure, and this is a polycrystalline material, and you see there are boundaries or separations that separate one grain from the other grain. If this one single grain extends out for throughout of this figure for completeness of this circle, then this will become a single crystal. But now we have different grains of different sizes and different orientations. So now this material has become a polycrystal. Okay. Next is anisotropy. What is anisotropy or isotropy? Anisotropy means directionality of properties is termed as anisotropy. It means when your properties depend upon the direction. In one direction there is another property, and in another direction the property just changes. And this is because of atomic or ionic spacing with crystallographic direction that gives the materials anisotropies. Substances in which measured properties are independent of the direction of measurement are called isotropic. And this means if you measure their property from any direction, from right to left, from top to bottom, they have the same characteristics, then this material is called isotropic. And if this property from one side is different to the other, then this is called anisotropic. Please consider the example of, for example, iron or steel rods, okay, or the columns or concrete columns. Do you appreciate or agree with me that their stress bearing capability is different if you take it along the longer side or elongation, and then on the horizontal or vertical? So they have anisotropy about their stress bearing capability along horizontal and vertical direction. This is referred to as anisotropy. And if this is the same, that they have same stress bearing capability horizontally and vertically, then this will be an isotropic. What actually is the grain? When we have crystal and that goes into crystalline orientation, these are called grains. Grain actually consists of a single crystal or polycrystalline aggregate. You can see in this figure there are different grains. They have come out of it as the materials has blown up. The surface that separates individual grains from each other are called grain boundaries. These grain boundaries are very important, and they play a big role in delivering different properties, just like plastic deformation to the material. As the crystal orientation changes abruptly across the grain boundary. Just look at the figure and you see by yourself that different grains have different sizes and different orientations, and as you move from one grain to another, the orientation is changing abruptly, and this gives these materials different characteristics that we will study in the next lectures as we move on. Okay, Allah.